I'm not really sure how to begin this. I should make an intro or something. I don't know. Maybe I already did and I just don't know it yet. So, here's an article I found called Racism, Misogyny, and Death Threats: How Star Wars Fans Turn to the Dark Side. Uh, Now, I found this because I looked up who is Ryan Johnson. I want to know who this person is because there was an interesting comment, and it was a little facetious and maybe kind of a joke, but someone said that essentially The Last Jedi was Ryan Johnson playing out how his emotion, basically playing out his emotional trauma of his parents not loving him, and I as much of a joke as that seems, actually on some level, I was like, maybe that's true. There's a lot of signs that he's giving off in that movie of like, yeah, my parents didn't love me. So, and besides that, Ryan Johnson kind of uh, he comes off to me when I was watching like his interviews and stuff. There's a certain kind of cruelty uh, to him that appears to come through in his interviews, and uh, to me, he looks mentally unhinged. Like that, he legitimately is. Whether or not he has some sort of psychosocial disorder or, uh, um, is an autist, or maybe it's simple uh, mommy and daddy issues, like this person was saying. I think that it's true that there's definitely something wrong with Ryan Johnson. So I wanted to know, and of course I stumble onto this lovely article. So I think I'm just gonna read. Let's read through it together, and I'll make some commentary, and you can tell me what you think. So they start by saying, for entertainment reporters, sharing opinions is a job, but when you do that with the Star Wars films, someone may call you the C word. Yeah, no, you're not getting called the C word for no reason. Following the release of The Last Jedi in 2017, Vanity Fair's Joanna Robinson wrote a review. What the fuck? Okay, Joanna Robinson. So she starts. One thing that got a lot of negative feedback was my exploration of mansplaining. Right, right in the beginning, you realize that this person is a open, flagrant sexist. Anyone who uses the term mansplaining is a sexist. So, all right, so we got an article from a sexist here. Or oh, sorry, am I using the wrong term? Feminist. Robinson told me what Laura Dern and Carrie Fisher's character had to deal with. It's like, so apparently these characters had to deal with mansplaining. That's interesting. So, note that according to Joanna Robinson, they wrote mansplaining into the movie. Interesting. Normal entertainment reporter stuff. And I got called a cunt, bitch, and told to kill myself because of that. So basically, she said that mansplaining was happening, and she got called names for that and told to kill herself. I wonder why. So, uh, it sounds cynical, but I'm kind of used to it at this point. I'm sure you are. But if you do take a step back, it's crazy that Star Wars fans have told me to kill myself repeatedly. You're a fucking idiot, okay? You are just a fucking idiot. I I don't even need to know a lot about you to just know how epically stupid you are, or divisive, or both. Something something is deeply broken among the Star Wars faithful. Yeah, you're right. Something is deeply broken about the Star Wars faithful. Our hearts, our hopes, our childhoods. Respectable discourse has deteriorated completely as a small but determined minority of fans, quote unquote, turn to the dark side. Hate spewing assholes looking to ruin the party for everyone and often succeeding. No, no, they have this backwards. They clearly have this backwards. They are the hate spewing assholes using words like mansplaining and ruining movies. I mean, this is who these people are. And the party wasn't ruined until these people showed up. Everyone loved Star Wars. There wasn't. The only people who didn't love Star Wars before were basically these people, and so the only ones having their party ruined uh, by by Star Wars initially was these people. Now everyone's party is ruined because they showed up. So who's crashing the fucking party? Disney and Lucasfilm Solo, a Star Wars Soylo, a Soy Wars story, hits theaters in 10 days, which means the movie's creators, actors, and normal fans who just like a good lightsaber battle should quickly find a Hoth-like hideout to survive the inevitable online backlash and warmongering fallouts. The fans prove everyone's terrible. I love how they're just quoting, they're just putting in quote marks the word fans, as if the people who aren't mad about these movies are not the fans. It's like most of the people who are angry about Star Wars at this point have been religiously devoted to Star Wars for decades. To say quote unquote fans about these people is absurd. It's completely absurd. And they know it. Following the release of The Last Jedi, writer-director Rian Johnson excuse me, Twitter, Rian Johnson's Twitter feed was bombarded with deranged messages from disgruntled fans who hated his film with such a fiery passion that even Palpatine would recoil in fear and disgust. I wonder why. He literally ruined one of the most important, if not the most important, movie legacy in history. There's absolutely no reason people should not be outraged about this. In addition to the masses of angry everyday fans, even such illustrious figures as Stormy Daniels took aim at the filmmaker. Rian Johnson. At Rian Johnson. My family was pretty religious growing up, so movies like Temple of Doom and Poltergeist I only got to experience through the novelization, which were of course even more gory than the movies. For some, Star Wars was almost a religion till you killed it. Exactly what I was actually just saying. The hopes and dreams of millions died at your hand. Also true. And this is an understatement because we should be saying hundreds of millions or at least tens of millions. The blood of that murder will always stain your future. It's true, Rian Johnson. And I don't actually know what Rian Johnson thinks of that. I mean, it's just the truth, but I'm not sure if he gets a sick satisfaction out of what he's done, or if he feels absolutely nothing at all because he's a perfect narcissist, or if he's recoiling in his own despair and shame because he knows that he did this terrible movie. Online petitions quickly sprang up calling for Disney to remake the movie entirely. It's too late for that. And this is the thing. Carrie Fisher is dead. Harrison Ford, he didn't want to do the movie in the first place. He's just like, yeah, I'll do this thing because I really think Harrison Ford did it for the fans, because he doesn't like Han. He's just like doing this, hey, let's get together kind of, epic, uh, bring back the old Star Wars characters and have this moment, which has been squandered permanently for eternity. This is a moment that will never come back because Carrie Fisher is dead. Han won't do it again anyway, I'm sure. And and Mark Hamill has had his heart ripped out. Anyway, so it's dead. This what this could have been has been squandered. It's done. Star Wars was they killed that moment within Star Wars, and Star Wars is dead at the moment. So where are we? Johnson received numerous death threats, no wonder, over a kids' movie about space samurai. See, and they just try to downplay like how important this movie, this movie legacy was. It's like it's way more. There's literally a religion that sprang from it. Literally a religion. Jedi is recognized as a religion, at least in America. Visible Star Wars fans who have argued for the virtues of the film have been met with swift retaliation. That's because it's a non-virtuous film. This will, to not describe this movie as nihilistic, at least in part, in some way, at least not representing nihilism to some degree, is actually inaccurate. If you know anything about film theory, you know that there is absolutely... This is the most nihilistic Star Wars film. To say it is not the most nihilistic Star Wars film is just inaccurate. It's just inaccurate. You've never studied any sort of literature. You don't know anything about literature if you don't know that. So, yeah, it is actually objectively unvirtuous. I've had some Star Wars fans get a hold of my email address and sign me up for forums with abusive and threatening usernames. Brian Young, a writer, filmmaker, and journalist who contributes to StarWars.com, told Observer, "I've had messages directed at me over the stupidity of naming my son Anakin." Okay. Well, that was probably a troll. I'm not even gonna lie. And trolls exist, but here's the thing: there's and here they are, kind of conflating trolls with genuine concerns. There's obviously naming your son as Anakin has nothing to do with this movie. Has nothing to do with it. So why even include that in this article? Vanity Fair's Robinson added, "I comfort myself with the thought that it has to be a minority. It can't be what the majority of the country and the whole world thinks." What is he even talking about? That troll comment? Or is he talking about the legitimate criticisms of The Last Jedi? Because The Last Jedi was trash. And yeah, a lot of people do believe that. Katrina Dennis, a writer, social media expert, and host who frequently delves into the Star Wars galaxy as a mega fan, recently opted out following excessive abuse at the hands of these extremists. "I think I'm going to have to take a break from Star Wars as a whole for a while. I feel crushed and defeated, and I don't want to be a part of this community publicly because it's a space where I'm clearly not welcome or wanted. Sorry, guys." Yeah, I'm not familiar with your work, but I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark here and say you're probably promoting something really just awful. if you're being defended in this article, I think it's safe to say you're probably terrible. Star Wars fandom has always been passionate, but rarely has it told someone to commit suicide or hurled the expletive libtard as a common retort. I'm not a fan of the term libtard, but that's a mischaracterization of what people are actually saying. See, I find it funny that we've landed on libtard rather than SJW, because that's what really is being thrown around the most. SJW. That's social justice warrior Star Wars. That's what this is. And yeah, there actually. Here's the thing. In feudal Japan, if you failed your lord, you were obliged to commit seppuku, and Ryan Johnson has done worse, objectively, worse for humanity as a whole, than any samurai who ever committed seppuku. Ryan Johnson should commit seppuku. Yes, that is true. He has failed so many people. He has failed humanity because he's squandered these valuable moments. We're not going to get Carrie Fisher back. She's gone. She's dead. This movie can't be remade. It was squandered. Maybe not everyone's terrible. Maybe it's easy to forget that when oft-derided... Sorry. It's easy to forget that when I said that right. Oft-derided, The Phantom Menace opened back in 1999, there was a smattering of positive reactions. Yeah, Kevin Smith, I know, and Roger Ebert, right? Whatever, who cares? Of course, there were plenty of negative reviews and fan backlash, with the common narrative that George Lucas ruined my childhood. You know, most people went back and sort of... Actually, I'm not going to say most, but there were a number of people, including myself, who were re-angry at George Lucas. Like, when I was young, when I saw Episode 1, so I was just like, Darth Maul's cool, I don't care. You know, like, I didn't give a fuck about the rest of the movie. Just for those little snippets of Darth Maul, the movie was worth it for me. Because he was just such a cool character. But when I... You know, I sort of ignored that movie was around when I got older. I was just like, whatever, you know. It wasn't anything, it didn't ruin my childhood. I actually was young when I saw it, sort of, kind of. And it was okay. I was like, whatever, you know, Darth Maul's cool. Like, that movie, Darth Maul wouldn't exist if it weren't for Episode 1, so whatever. And then later, you know, that theory came out that, you know, George Lucas had sort of intended to make... Jar Jar a Sith Lord, and then that theory and lots of evidence supporting that, and it was like, whoa, that's cool. George Lucas was a coward for not doing that, though. Made me angry, like, made me re-angry. But none of that compares to how bad The Last Jedi is. The Last Jedi is like, at the very least, Episode 1 was a good story. It was like, and that's why George Lucas is cool, because he's a storyteller. Actually, that's not the only reason. He's a good storyteller, and the themes, I mean, he basically put space fantasy on the map. You can, if you're a Trekkie, you think Star Trek is cooler, but I'm going to say the Force and laser swords is infinitely cooler than phasers and the Enterprise. It's just, I think that's an objective fact, but whatever, I'm not going to get into that argument. I'm just going to say that George Lucas has been praised for those things, and whether or not he created Jar Jar, at least he made a good story. So that was my take. Now, a lot of people were angry, but there's nothing you're going to retroactively do. There is no Darth Jar Jar in The Last Jedi. There's no Darth Jar Jar. It's an irredeemably bad story. It's unoriginal. It's overtly feminist. It's even sexist against men. And we can talk about that if you... Well, I'll just say that there's obviously feminist wish fulfillment that is very sick involved in it, and that's one of the quote unquote good guys. with the digital ease and convenience, and to extent of what is possible today. When J.J. Abrams released The Force Awakens in 2014, roughly. By the way, I didn't hate The Force Awakens. It's only The Last Jedi that absolutely killed it in a bad way. Immediately, fans began taking sides. Many excited at the prospect of Episode 7, but plenty more dismayed when I opened. What? Just found out that Star Wars trailer was not a spoof. What is Tracy Morgan doing there? Galaxy far, far away. Yeah, that's not... See, and then you even pick one that isn't even that scathing. Like, yeah, they're kind of taking the piss. But, no, we're not just taking the piss on The Last Jedi. It's a shit movie. It's just bad, okay? It's not, oh, haha, like, let's make a little quirky jab. It's like, no, this is garbage. You're giving us trash and then telling us that this is the real Star Wars. It was a far more widely devised ecosystem with even more negativity than the prequel era. That's because the prequel era wasn't as bad. Those trailers didn't generate nearly the same level of aggressive skepticism because you are delivering perfect trash. And this trend has continued through the sequel trilogy. Some moviegoers who didn't care for The Force Awakens stubbornly dug their heels, forming online see, there it is again, fan in quotation marks, groups, aimed at boycotting future Star Wars films. Yeah, I am boycotting, because if you're going to basically shoehorn feminist propaganda into trashy movies and then paint it with Star Wars themes, I'm not going to watch it. It doesn't work like that. Calling for the removal from canon and systemically driving down audience scores on aggregate review sites, yeah, you deserve your bad Rotten Tomato views. And, I don't know why I spelled that with so many freaking typos. Let's go look. I've been keeping track of our scores here. Let's take a look. Ooh, it went down. 71% on the tomato meter. And who wants to see 70%? That means that 30%, 3 out of 10, have gone onto the site to say, I don't want to see this movie. I'm included in that. That's because it's going to be bad, and we know it. As long as KKRJ are part of Star Wars, it will fail. Where were we? Fan groups aimed at boycotting future Star Wars films, calling for their removal from canon and systemically driving down audience scores on aggregate review sites. The same group that took credit for The Last Jedi's Rotten Tomatoes tumble formed a since-removed alt-right Facebook group and tried to take down Marvel's Black Panther back in February. See, and that's just a lie. How do you know it's the same people? You don't. You don't. Sure, there was probably a lot of people in that same group, but I liked Black Panther. It was a good movie. And that's the thing. Marvel isn't the problem. So, do we hate Disney? No, I grew up on Disney. Disney's good shit, and Marvel is really good shit. There's lots of cool Marvel movies. Even the black guy. No, we're not fucking racist. We just recognize when you give us a shit fucking movie and then tell us that we have to like it, or else. Because black guys. In response to the concerning rise in toxicity and hostility, the hashtags Star Wars Rep Matters and Star Wars is a girl thing too have been cultivated by online communities to try to combat these quote-unquote fans. We are the real fans. You fucking idiots. You fucking idiot. We are the real fans. Star Wars reps matter. Yeah, some of them. These groups promote mental health awareness, diversity, inclusion, and a sense of positive thinking among the Star Wars faithful. These Star Wars reps don't matter because they ruin everything. They're just terrible people who have no respect for how their job even was created. That's really what it comes down to. But as we know, it takes more than well wishes to slay a Sith Lord. Yeah, motherfucker, I'm a Sith Lord. We're just a Sith colony. We're just all right. There it is. Okay, so that's what it's come to. All right, fine. You're right. We're not fans. This is it's a Sith Academy. That's it. This is that shit. If if it keeps going like this, we're just gonna shit. I'm changing my channel name. That's it. This is the Sith Academy. Welcome to the Sith Academy, Dark Jedi's. We don't have that rule of two shit going on. As many Sith as you want, welcome. So, welcome, Sith Lords. It's good to have you all here. We're gonna continue being racist, sexist, and misogynist. So, I don't know what was the other word they used. Racism. Racism, yeah, we're racist, misogynist, life threateners. Okay, so that's the Sith Academy. Welcome. Every single Star Wars movie is inherently goofy and good-natured in its own way. It's hard to actually put an umbrella on every Star Wars movie at this point, and I'm just gonna move on. Anyway, meant to be digestible, enjoyable, and soaring all at once, specifically because they are fantastical yet relatable adventures designed to appeal to both a 12-year-old and 40-year-old. They are excellent products of function. Once a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. However, the film community often treats the series as holy scripture, which is where both the good and bad are born. The disintegration of Star Wars fandom. I honestly think that Star Wars is the most hotly debated for two reasons. One, it's the most popular, and two, it's part of our contemporary mythology. Young explained, Star Wars is religion. Even for those who have their own theology, Star Wars reinforces it. For many people, these are serious and sacred texts that have helped them through as many problems in their life as the Quran or the Bible. I'm actually going to agree with you here. So when you ruin that, I mean, what are the freaking Muzzies' reactions when you piss on the Quran and things like that? So what do you expect when you ruin Star Wars? It's like you just graffitied a new chapter in the Quran, motherfuckers, and now you're saying that people are overreacting. I think if you look at recognizability of characters, Batman and Superman, indeed most popular comic book characters, have that same sort of lesson teaching ingrained in many generations that makes it seem more personal to them. Yeah, so shoehorning feminism in when nobody is really actually asking for that, not even the women. You're basically fundamentally confusing the next generation, which is terrible. It's what a real Sith Lord would be doing. Passion has helped sustain Lucas's creation for more than 40 years and generated billions upon billions of dollars. See, and they can recognize it's 40 years. 40 years. 40 years. And they just act like it's nothing. Where are we? This is getting kind of long, but it's going to be a long video anyway, but I'm just going to try to hit the highlights here. These fans must... So there they are. These fans must have felt personally threatened, though who can really understand why, when they directed this hate toward The Last Jedi writer and director Rian Johnson and Lucasfilm's President Kathleen Kennedy. Brian, have you ever thought about what the world would be like if you'd never been born? I sure have. Those alternate timelines seem better than the ones where Hitler was never born. I second that. Yeah. Fuck Rian Johnson. Thanks for destroying my childhood. I would rather have Ed Wood marketing or making The Last Jedi. You and Kathleen Kennedy ruined Star Wars. Good job. Why these new... This is like the height of absurdity. Why these new Star Wars fans are the worst. We're not new. We're the originals. And we are the actual fans. This line is diametrically opposite to what should be being stated. Ridiculous. Some of the more level-headed viewers out there have pointed to story and character-specific issues as to why they didn't enjoy The Last Jedi. These include problems with how Luke's character was handled. Legitimate criticisms. The movie's inconsistent humor. See, and they even call these people level-headed. The humor was awful because it interfered with military strategy and it just wasn't very funny. I preferred Jar Jar. Leia pulling a Mary Poppins in space. Is that supposed to be funny? Is that supposed to be funny? Leia pulling a Mary Poppins in space. That's supposed to be funny. That's what they're saying here. Oh no, that's just a regular criticism. Okay. It's like, wow, they're actually calling it out. Okay. A lack of payoff to mysteries raised in The Force Awakens and other subjective concerns about plot and script elements, as if it's like not our fucking business. So to be watching, are we not a part of this transaction here? I mean, is that really what is going on? We're just supposed to give you money, watch, and nothing we say or do should be considered here. And yeah, there was a lack of payoff for the mysteries that JJ produced that could be retconned in the next movie. Nonetheless, it could have been done in this movie. This movie was like the waiting room. If that's the case, this is the waiting room of Star Wars.